Hello guys, I'm back with another exciting tutorial. This time we will deep dive into Amplify Studio. So Amplify Studio is Amplify team's latest add-on. It is a visual development environment for building full stack web and mobile apps. So to learn about Amplify Studio features, I'll build a complete demo in this tutorial. This is what we are going to build in this tutorial. This is a simple application to showcase rental cars. You can create an account or sign in to our application. When you sign in, you can view all those rental cars that we have already created. We can add a new rental car as well. If we save, this rental cars grid gets updated automatically. Okay, let's build this using Amplify Studio. Okay, let me give a quick shout out to our sponsors for this video. Now Dynobase provides a very cool GUI client for DynamoDB. We all know that DynamoDB is a very powerful database. So if you are developing in DynamoDB, you should definitely check this out. They offer very powerful features like you can integrate with your workflow. Dynobase have a visual query builder, and you can also import and export your data, and yeah, many more features. So I'll put a link in the description as well, so you guys can give it a try. Okay, let's go back to our video. So there are some prerequisites for this tutorial. So you will definitely need an AWS account to complete this tutorial. To create an AWS account, you will need to enter your credit card details, but it won't cost you anything to complete this tutorial. So this is the blog article for this tutorial. You can check this out too. You will need Node.js 10 or later, npm version 5 or later, and you will need to install Amplify CLI. So Amplify got this guide on installing Amplify CLI, this video too. You can refer to those and install Amplify CLI. It's not a big deal. Okay, with that out of the way, let's set up our project. So Amplify will be the backend of our application, and for the front end or the client side, we will use a React app. Let's first create a React app using npx create React app. So open up your terminal and cd into a directory where you want to create your project, and type in npx create React app. I will name this rental app and press enter. Okay, now that is done, open this project in your IDE. So I will use WebStorm. You can use any IDE you like. We need to install some dependencies using npm. So in your terminal, make it large, npm install and AWS Amplify and AWS Amplify UI React library and AWS Amplify DataStore library. Yeah, press enter. Okay, while that is installing, let's go to AWS console and let's create our Amplify project. So in the search bar up here, type in AWS Amplify, this one, and go to new app and build an app. First add an app name. I will name this rental app. Just make sure you don't leave any spaces, and click confirm deployment. Okay, now it is created, and click launch studio down here. So this will launch Amplify Studio, the visual development environment that we are going to use. Okay, now we need to connect this Amplify project with our React app. For that we can use this amplify pull command. So go to local setup instructions and copy this command and paste and run this in your terminal. Yeah, I need to authorize. Click yes. And yeah, in your terminal, select your ID. I'm using IntelliJ IDEA and JavaScript, React, and just accept the default. Want to modify this backend, select yes. And we are good to go. So this amplify command that we just ran created this amplify folder. So this will be used to store the velocity templates and configuration details. So we will use different AWS services like AppSync and Cognito. So Amplify will take care of configuring all these resources. And it also created this AWS export.js file. So in this file, Amplify will store all details to identify the AWS resources. Okay, now in our index.js file, we need to add a few more lines to configure Amplify. So go to index.js file, this one. Let me just create it. Okay, first you need to import Amplify from AWS Amplify. You need to import your React.style CSS file. Import at AWS Amplify your React styles.css. And you need to import the Amplify provider component from your React library. And you need to import AWS export.js file. And type in amplify.configure and pass in AWS exports. And we need to wrap this app component with Amplify provider. So that's it. Let's save this and run our app. So let me set up configuration real quick. So this will be like running npm start. And yeah, it worked. So we can't see anything yet, but the fact that our app ran means we did our job. So enough with setting up, let's develop UI components with Amplify Studio. So go to Amplify Studio and on the side menu click UI library. So in here we can use this Figma to code feature that Amplify Studio offers. So this is where we can use Figma UI designs in our Amplify apps. So for now, Amplify recommends using their own Figma file where they have created some components to test this feature out, and I will add the link in the description somehow, or you can refer to my blog post. Okay, let's duplicate this Figma file. So in here we got 4 pages mainly. This readme describes how to create a new component. This primitive page contains all the UI elements that they have created. On my components page, you will see some UI components built using those primitives. And on the example page, we have some interfaces defined by Amplify team. So we will take some of these components to suit our app. So I really don't know much about UI designing, so this will be a small change. Okay, first we can use this card B component to showcase our Intel card details. So double click to highlight it, and you need to edit the name first. Car rental card. And this will be the price per day and the / and day. And this will be car model and name. And at last we need to add a car description. Okay, that's our car rental card component. Next we want to add a nav bar into our app. So where is it? Yeah, up here. So this one is a little bit complex, so let's simplify this. Yeah, we don't need this, so let's delete them. You can delete using the delete key. We don't need these menu items too, so select it and delete it. So let's replace this notification icon with the sign out button. We can use this app menu right here, search for button, and add the button. We can change the size to small. Okay, let's edit the text to sign out. So instead of just outputting logo, let's name this car rental app. Down here for this logo, we need to add an image. So let's add an image. So I'm using this icon from Iconate. So from the menu, select paste an image and select it. Let's paste it here. Okay, we need to add this before. Okay, that's our navbar. So we will also need a form component to add new cars into our app. We can use this edit profile component. Yeah, this one. So double click to highlight. Let's first remove this close button. And yeah, we need to change this into add car. Here we don't need this image. We will need a text field to add image URLs. So let's duplicate a text field. Okay, for first name we can add a placeholder like this Toyota Prius, and for the price we can add a USD. Yeah, this will be price per day. Next, for the description we can add something like number of seats, and for the image URL we can add something like this. Okay, so that's all I want to add to our app. And we have created this navbar component, and we have created this add car component. Yeah, we need to rename this into add car. And we have created our car rental card component. Okay, let's import this file into Amplify Studio. Here, go to get started, and we need to paste in the link. So let's copy that real quick. Up here we can share and copy link. Okay, this copied and paste it to continue. Okay, fetching from Figma. Okay, this fetched. We can accept individually or we can accept all. So choose accept all. Okay, successfully synced with Figma. Here is our car rental card component. Okay, now that is synced, let's import these UI components into our React app. So using this amplify pull command, we can import those components. Okay, you may notice that Amplify automatically created this UI components folder. So in this file, we can see all these React components auto-generated by Amplify. So pretty cool, isn't it? Okay, let's use this navbar component in our app. Let's clear the template code in our app.js file. H1 car rental app. Okay, let's import our component. Import navbar from UI components. Okay, let's add it here before the header. Okay, let's save and see how it looks. Okay, looks a little bit off. Let's fix that first. So here we can pass in width into 100%. Okay, now it looks better. Yeah, we still need to add these two images, profile image and the logo. Okay, let's do that. So the big question is, how do we override these generated components? So inside our navbar.js file, you may see that every little element has this override function and pass in a key value. So we can use these key values to pass in src values to our two image elements. Okay, let me show you. So here in our app, let's create a new JX object called navbar overrides. So as the first key value pair, we can pass in overrides key of our logo image element, this one right here. And we can pass in property and a value. So we'll use src property and we can pass in value as the image link. So this will override the logo image src property. Next, we need to add the profile pic image. Let's copy the key value real quick. This one right here. Let's copy it and paste it in our app.js file. And for the src tag, we can pass in an image URL. So I will use this one right here. Paste it. So here in our navbar, we need to pass in our overrides object. So overrides and navbar overrides. Save it. And let's see if it worked. Okay, it worked. Our logo and profile image is visible. So that is one way of extending the generated code. So with Amplify Studio, we can create new data models for our app. Let's do that next. In Amplify Studio, go to Data in the sidebar menu and choose Add Model. Let's name this rental car model. Then we can enter fields. So ID is a default field. We can enter a field called name, which is a string value. Next we need to add a price. It should be a float value. We need to add a description. Again a string value, and we need to add the image URL. It should be string as well. So you can do something like setting a field is required. So this makes this field required. Okay, let's save and deploy. And click deploy. Okay, now it has been deployed. So, and guys, you can also add the authorization rules and relations using Amplify Studio. So we will not touch upon those things in this tutorial, maybe in the next one. Okay, now if you go to this manage content view, here we can view all data related to our models. So now we can see anything because we did not add any data yet. So if we click this auto generate seed data button, we can generate some data. So we want to add 5 records, and we can add a constraint as well. So we can add a constraint for the price. Price should be a range. We can add a max value into 200 and click generate data. Okay, 5 records were generated, so it is not perfect, but it does the job. If you have a much simpler data model, I think we can really use this. So we might well edit this data to suit our app. So I'll use this gist file to edit our app. Paste the name. Okay, I'll fast forward this. Okay, done. So this is another feature that Amplify Studio offers. We can manage our content through Amplify Studio. Okay, next now let's see how we can use Amplify Studio to bind this data into our UI component. So go to UI library again, car rental card components. So we can bind this car rental card component to our rental car model. So if we go to component and choose to configure, now we can assign a data model. Click add prop and add a name. This should be rental car, and its type should be our model that we just created, rental car model. Now we can select the child element here, something like the image, and we can edit the image src prop. We can set a prop by this button right here, and we can assign the rental car.image URL to src prop. Next, let's edit the price text element. Select this text label, and we need to set a prop label, and value should be a $sign before the price. So let's add $sign, and we can concatenate strings as well. So press concatenate and add rental car.price, and next we can add the static value, something like \per day. Yeah, so this should be our price. On the next text element, Label should be rental car.name. The description text element label should be rental car.description. So if we choose shuffle preview data button, we can apply random data to model, another cool feature. Okay, now we can create a collection of these card components to showcase most recent cars or something like that. So if we choose this create collection button, and we can specify a name, I'll name this new cars collection and click create. So collection is something like a grid or a list of components, so we can edit our collection layout from here. We can choose our layout to be a grid. Let's edit this to 3 columns and let's add a padding of 1 rem. Okay, this is how it looks. Now we can populate this grid with recently created rental cards. So we can modify this dataset by this view edit button in the right side. And we can add a sorting condition right here at sort and choose created at and descending. And choose to create dataset. So next we can add this component to our React app. Let's use this get component code and copy this command right here, and we can go back to our terminal and paste it right here and press enter. So you don't need to specify the app ID here, just running Amplify full will also do the job. So now if we go here, yeah, we can see our new cars collection. Okay, let's use this instead of this h1 tag, new cars collection. Yeah, it is imported. Save it, and yeah, there you go, it worked. So we got car prices and names, and all this data coming from the backend, and all these configured using Amplify Studio. Okay, now let's add authentication to our app. So let's go back to Amplify Studio. So set up authentication. So default it is set to email login. So you can choose other login mechanisms like phone number or social sign-in mechanisms like Google, Facebook. So I'm happy with this email login. Let's configure sign up. Let's add new attributes like name and profile. And for the password policy, we can accept the defaults. Okay, let's deploy. Okay, now we deployed authentication. Let's update our React app. So in our React app, type in Amplify pull and press enter. Okay, now we pull the auth resource. So now we can use Amplify's UI library to easily add an authentication flow to our app. So let's import this with authenticator component from Amplify UI library from AWS Amplify UI React, and down here we can wrap this app component in with authenticator wrapper. Okay, now if we save and view our app, we can see the auth flow added by the UI library. So once we create an account, let me quickly create an account, password, and let's add a profile image. This should be a link. Okay, now the account has been created. This sign out button doesn't work and the profile image hasn't changed, so let's fix those. So now that we are wrapping this app component with higher order component, we can expect a user object and a sign out function as props. So now for the profile image, instead of this static image URL, we can pass in user.attributes.profile. And also we need to override this sign out button to handle an on-click function. First, let's copy the key. Okay, this is the key for that button. Copy it and paste it right here. Let's pass in on-click. Okay, we can call the sign out function. Okay, save it and let's see how it goes. Okay, the profile pic has changed, and if we click sign out, yeah, we are back in our sign in page. Okay, now let's implement our final functionality. So we want to add new cars into this car grid. Let's use a form component that we created earlier to do that. Okay, let's import our add car component and let's load it down here before our new cars collection. Add car, and let's save it and let's view our React app. Okay, there it is. So styles are a little bit off, so let's just fix that. So I'll do this the easy way. We can pass in a style prop and we can align the text into left, and we can add a margin of 100. Now if we view it, yeah, it is fixed. Let's add the amplifies divider component in between this new cars collection. Let's add divider and save it. Okay, now we want to add logic into this form. First we need to save users input in React state, and then we need to call the backend to save those details. Okay, let's do that. We need to add const name and set name, use state, and we can pass in an empty string. Let's import use state from React. And next, price and set price, and this should be description and set description, and this should be image URL, set image URL. Now how can we access those text elements from here? Yeah, we can pass in an overrides object to our add car component. So const add car overrides, and this should be a JavaScript object. Now if you go to our add car component up here, yeah, like what we have did earlier, we can use these key elements to override an on-change listener for each text field. So let's just copy this key, and if we go to our app.js file, we can pass in a key and a value and pass in an on-change listener. This should be set name event, target.value. And we have 4 more text elements. So let's just copy those keys real quick. And this should be text field 1. And this should be text field 2. And text field 3. This should be set price and set description and set image URL. And yeah, we need to add an on-click listener to our button. So let's just copy this key and paste it here. On click, we can pass in an empty function. And we need to save our rental car here. Now we can pass in this overrides object to our add car component. Add car overrides, and we need to pass our add car overrides object. Here, let's use Amplify DataStore library to save this data into our database. So it's pretty simple. Let's first import DataStore library. Import DataStore. From AWS Amplify DataStore. And let's create a function, save rental car. This will be an async function. And let's add a try catch block. For now, let's just log the error. Here we can call datastore.save function. So await datastore.save, and we can pass in new rental car. And rental car model was imported. So this model was created automatically by Amplify Studio when we created our model. So we can import it here and we can pass in properties. It should be an object. We can pass in our rental car name, and price should be passed into float. And next we can pass in description. And at last we can pass in image URL. And we need to call the save rental car when the button click. So let's just pass that difference here. Save rental car. Now if we save and test this out, let's just add a name, new car, and price into 100. And let's set a description like 4 seats. And for the image URL, let's just copy this. And if we click save, okay, it worked. So data saving and data updating happens smoothly with DataStore, and we did not have to set up any subscription with this grid component. So Amplify took care of that. And so that was our final functionality. You can definitely try new things with Amplify Studio. There are a few things we haven't touched here. So that's all I have planned for this tutorial. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want more Amplify tutorials, do leave a comment behind. And thank you for watching. See you in the next video.